You're listening to the Gemhammer and Sons podcast, the only podcast where Connor and Joe discuss how to make your games more better. Roll initiative.
And we're back.
Hey, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
And as always, we're going to start with reactions.
Yeah.
Do we have any reactions to the last podcast, which went up an hour ago?
No, because it went up an hour ago.
It did go up an hour ago. Apologies on my end. Between your birthday
Woo!
on Saturday,
Which is why a weekly update didn't go up.
and my mother's birthday on Sunday, there was not a lot of time available to put up a podcast, but it's up now. It'll be up for about a week by the time this one goes out. So no reactions there, unfortunately. Sad face. But you did have your birthday. How was that?
Oh, it was fine. You were here.
I was.
Yep. We had cupcakes and alcohol.
More better beer stuff, as we're known. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did get you the Cold Press Toma Beasts.
You did, and it was very nice of you.
How is that? I flipped through it briefly.
It's pretty awesome. In reading through it, there's a lot of stuff in there. There's coincidentally how there are Ratatosk, which are the squirrel people that you guys encountered in your Planescape adventure.
They're in there?
They were in there.
Excellent.
And there are then rat folk and raven folk, which is perfect because you guys had run into rat folk and raven folk.
Clockwork everything.
Clockwork everything, and then there's also like those are the only like constructs. There's other robot type things in there, just not in that section. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to make use of later on. I feel that there is an unnecessary number of here's a beautiful fey creature that lures men to their death.
Yeah. And
Like-
they're not in the same place.
No, they're
right?
not like grouped together. They're like dispersed. There's like probably 40. Here's a beautiful fae that lures men to their... You needed one of these, man. This one hangs out in icy
and then
water.
A higher CR
This one hangs out in swamp water. This one stays in a river. This one sits by quicksand. Okay, man, I get it. Like,
What they needed to do was, like in the Pathfinder bestiaries, it's here are all the dragons, and here's 3 or 4 dragons, and here are all the demons, and here are 3 or 4 demons. So if I wanted a beautiful young woman who lures adventurers to their death, I could flip to that section and then go, I'll pick an appropriate CR.
right.
It's not that way. There is a nice CR table, but now I need to memorize which of these fantastic Norse mythological names are beautiful women who lure sailors to their death.
Right, and I also just, in flipping through that, just love the idea that you guys are going to go on an adventure where you go to a lure men to their death convention. There's like dozens of each of these.
LureCon 2016.
So what is it? It's just a giant pool. And there's just hundreds of different fey women luring men to their death all weekend and having a symposium about techniques for luring. Why would we go to this?
They have the MacGuffin Stone, Connor.
Exactly.
It's the only place we can pick up a vintage MacGuffin Stone. So I think it's time for NPC of the Week.
NPC of the week. Ooh.
We've only got 2, but if anyone missed last week, Dom from Wicked Good Gaming challenged us to roll randomly for a race, class, and background.
Okay.
And to come up with a nice backstory for... We were doing sort of PCs, why this person's off adventuring.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna pick a little NPC this time.
All right.
But luckily there are 9 races, and I have a 9-sided die. There are 12 classes, and I have a 12-sided die, just like all of you do. And there are 13 backgrounds. I do have a 14-sided die, so we might need to re-roll it if it lands on a 14. You wanna start things off?
Sure. So that's the 9.
Yeah.
We got a
7?
7.
7 is a half-elf.
Ooh, a half elf.
Wizard. Soldier. That was looking pretty like, this is just going to be like the bard,
It was like the halfling bard with the entertainer background or whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot like that. But then Soldier happened and everything went to hell.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
Because like wizards are primarily like book learning and stuff.
Yeah.
So the idea, like, I mean, I imagine like something like a wizard that went to West Point or something like that. So our wizard, he's a half elf. he works for the military, I guess. So I'm gonna go with.
Oh, you're re-rolling them?
No, I was just playing with them.
So there's probably like a war college, right?
College of War.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
This just like in.
Maybe it's a wizard who trains soldiers. Who trains what is the Eldritch Knights?
Mm.
So it's a wizard, an NPC that trains Eldritch Knights.
Does he have a name?
She is Captain Eloise Rumney.
My shirt says Rumney, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Okay. So, let's see NPC of the week number 2. We have a halfling. Wizard. Another good wizard. Give me a good background, though. Acolyte. See, acolytes are people from temples.
Yep.
And in the world, there is a halfling god of... There's a god of transmutation.
Okay.
Right?
Is it really, or just...
No, this is just...
Okay.
Yeah, this is just in the world that...
You're making up right now.
Yeah. That Eloise... It's like Prince. Just has one name. When we run out of ideas...
The halfling, formerly known as Eloise?
Yes, the halfling, formerly known as Eloise. You don't get last names when I'm drained. Grew up in that temple and learned of magic. But unfortunately, not a big fan of transmutation magic. She actually has a specialization in abjuration, that sort of warding magic. And now she runs a little shop where she sells potions of, scrolls of shield, magic arms and armor, things of that nature. That's what she's into. She doesn't want to change the way people look and act. She's a halfling. She understands that people who look differently can still be amazing adventurers. So she has turned her back on her god of transmutation and is focusing entirely on abjuration, living in the big city, selling magic stuff.
We're looking at the we've had like 5 different names for it, but I guess the Compendium of Wild Beasts, the deck of cards that's like all the animals and
the familiars and the wild shapes,
right? So that it's like, hey, are you summoning something? Are you transforming into something? Did something transform you into it? Well, now it's a whole lot easier. Do you need just to like have an encounter in the forest for your level 1 to 5 characters?
Right.
Do you live in a world where there isn't magic and you're just coming up across animals?
And you just need to fight little woodland creatures? I love that idea. I know that when you were Torben, the druid,
yep.
It took you a while to realize that you needed this.
Yeah. It took me, like, sitting there with the monster manual and flipping through all the animals is terrible, especially since dinosaurs aren't even, like, kept in the same section as other animals.
Right.
I did eventually, like... make like a spreadsheet and print it all out and have everything in front of me. But even then, like, I now have 20 character sheets.
But, I mean, with 5e, it's not uncommon for every spellcaster to sort of have their spells out in those spell cards that Wizard sells.
It's true.
If there were a similar one for the Wild Beasts they could summon.
Remember, druids also have spells.
Right.
So it turned into a situation where I had a ton of cards and a ton of sheets of paper. So, I mean, if I had just something small, like some more cards that I could flip through, then...
So that might be coming to you guys sooner than you think, depending on how long it takes me to edit this podcast.
Indeed.
No, it's not going to be by this time. The podcast is
No, I have no idea why you just said that.
I don't know. I want to get people hyped.
What is hype may never die.
See, what's important about hype is Tales from the Table's coming up next.
Woo!
It's the next thing we're going to do. So people have to sit through this ad that might even be from a real sponsor this time. It's not gonna be, but I want to get people hyped for the ad too, maybe, and then we'll come back with Tales from the Table.
Let's do it.
We're here today for Cure Wounds Light.
Our potion is cold brewed in the spine of the world using only the finest quality Eye of Newt and Dragon's Liver.
Perfect for a barbecue with your bros, relaxing on the beach, or recovering from a fight with a goblin.
One goblin. A small goblin.
Remember, that's Cure Wounds Light. Tastes great.
Less healing.
Cure Wounds Light would like to remind you to please quaff responsibly.
That ad turned out not to be from a real sponsor.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Sorry to hype you guys up for nothing. Tales from the Table.
Yeah.
So, at last, our daring and peerless adventurers were in the town of Leominster.
Yep.
They just returned from their sort of adventure with the Secret of Nim family running the bar.
Yep.
Didn't get paid for that. It happens, you know.
Well, Lady Mortimer tricked you guys, you know.
She did. So. I mean, we were tricked.
Bamboozled.
It was going to be easy money. That's why we had to do it.
That's right.
Rats, I can kill rats. I have a crossbow.
Rats in a tavern? This is the quintessential quest. We're just going to go bang that out real quick.
Yeah, we'll be back in an hour. But we came back.
Look, they're children. Dear God, what have we done?
So we came back to the Adventurers League. They had gotten a little bit more of the map.
Yep, they
looked at.
We're able to decipher a little bit more of that map for you guys to go looking for the next piece of the creation disc or whatever it is.
Right. And we were sent to the post office to go pick up a letter real quick.
Yep.
But the post office wasn't just... It was attacked by brigands, one assumes.
Well, it was pretty messed up.
Oh, doors off of hinges.
That's right.
Stuff thrown everywhere.
Someone had
tossed
all over the floor. Yeah, someone had flipped this place around looking for something. And Mikey was able to find out a lot without even talking to the poor girl that was knocked out on the floor.
Because his new mystic ability is he can, like, touch something for 10 minutes and then see through its eyes for the last month or something.
As though it had eyes, like a door.
Yeah.
You know, like a door doesn't have eyes, but he sees from its perspective.
Okay.
Like, here's you see all the things that happen to the door.
And it's for 24 hours back, and then is there a time period forward that it works?
There's no forward. It's just, like, you go back that far, and it goes forward up until when you, like, started touching it.
When it started touching it. Would it be terrible if you had to sit through the 10 minutes of you just
and
touching the door?
you guys spent, like, an hour in the Game World time. Like, just letting Mikey touch stuff and going, okay, and here's what happened next. But then they walked out of sight. So then he runs over to something he could see while they were still in sight and does it to
I'll go over to that lamppost. All right, I'll go over to that lamppost.
I'm going to go over to that water trough. Guys, we, like, passed them. Son of a bitch.
But we ended up dealing with the nice post lady.
Yep.
See, that was important to me because my mother works in a post office.
Really?
So that really hit me close to home. So I wanted to make sure that Olivia was her name.
Yep.
I remember almost no one else's name in his entire campaign. NPCs. I know Dom's character's name.
Yep. Which is...
Ricky?
Flint McGreevey.
Yes, Flint McGreevey, but we call him Doc. See? He's got 2 names. I was supposed to remember them both.
He's got 3 names.
I guess McGreevy's the name. The McGreeveys are a proud family. And so we came back to the Adventures League because we went to go get like a postcard, a letter. I don't remember. Some sort of message.
They were sending... They had transcribed part of the map and sent it off to some guys to kind of like...
Take a look at, see if we can
some
find
information, see if they can find some more information for you. And they were just sending information back. And what Mikey saw was that some guys in some bronze and silver cloaks came in and knocked this poor girl out and tossed the place and got a hold of the message right before you guys got there, and then...
So after spending an hour trying to track these guys down by touching lampposts, we gave up. We returned to the Adventures League, only to find them standing there.
Yeah, tossing the Adventurers League. In fact, they tossed the Cameron Braze, the leader,
sort of head of
the head of that branch, that tossed him right through a door.
So it turned out they were Warforged, very
Surprise.
similar to the ones we had fought before. Not the thorny ones.
No, not the thorny ones.
These are
the
metal ones. And after 5 seconds of game time and 2 hours in Dom's kitchen, Dom from Wicked Good Gaming, of course.
Yeah.
After 2 hours in his kitchen.
That was the longest fight ever.
Thanks, Kobold Press.
I mean,
it was awesome.
It wasn't. I mean, those guys only had like 50 points of health.
Yeah.
That wasn't like so we use Cold Press, the Clockwork Watchman or whatever it is for this. It totally wasn't those characters. Everyone was just either missing their attack rolls or not rolling very high damage.
Well, all my magic either dealt psychic damage or
paralyzed.
I took hold person.
Right.
And they're immune to psychic damage and paralysis.
And Mikey, most of his psychic stuff
all of his psychic stuff.
Or all of his psychic stuff. Yeah, all of his abilities are psychic stuff, so they're immune to that. So he was just standing there firing crossbow.
Yeah, so him and I are on a chandelier just outside the room, just shooting crossbows into it.
Yep. But even then, like, he wasn't rolling very high damage on his crossbow. Neither were you.
Yeah. It's 1d8. What are you going to do?
You guys had the dogs, but, like, I don't know what was... Like, the Iron Defenders, I don't know what was going on with that, but, like, he would consistently only, like, make one of those land the hit.
Right, because they have the advantage because they're next to each other, and he'd roll 3 and a 4, 5 and a 4, 3 and a 2,
yeah.
6 and a 7, 17 and an 18, but that's on the same attack, so what good is that? Yeah. And one of them would attack. And one attack would get through. Mm-hmm. But one of the guys bolted, right?
You guys were able
Oh, no, he was trying to bolt, but then we stopped him.
Yeah, so you guys took down 3 of the Warforged, and then there was a Cutlass was the big one.
Yep.
And it was coming after you guys, and you were able to take him down, and one of them was just bolted. He was going to, like, ready to dive through the window and start climbing out of there, and screw this, I'm out of here. I'm going to go tell everyone what happened after his leader got killed. And you guys were able to tackle him to the ground, and you guys probably spent like 5 or 6 turns like wrestling this guy into
trying
the
to
ground.
Strength contest him into submission.
And then like, well, all right, we've got him down. Now let's put the ropes on him. Okay, so he's going to get another strength contest because you need to let go of him a little bit to get the ropes around him. Oh, he's loose again!
So finally, after hog-tying him, Doc has access to his own truth now.
Yep.
So we got to ask him some questions about who he works for, some sort of alpha cabal. Council.
The Alpha Council.
Yep. It'd be cool if they were a cabal. Cabals seem eviler. Or maybe they're not really the bad guys. Maybe we're the bad guys.
You'll have to find out later.
You'll have to find out next time.
Although he seemed pretty convinced that you were the bad guys.
Yeah, but he's not even unambiguously alive. So...
What?
He's not unambiguously alive?
What do you mean?
Like, he's not... I am unambiguously alive. I was born. I have a mommy.
Uh-huh.
Blood flows through my blood bits.
Uh-huh.
The Warforged isn't unambiguously alive.
Yeah, they are.
They're alive, but not unambiguously.
I disagree.
Well, like, comment, and subscribe if you think I'm right. And when we get no likes, then I'll buy you a sandwich that will kill you.
Cool story, bro.
And then we woke up the Caden Braden Crans, the half ogre who runs the town council. Peter, you want to just say this sentence for me so I don't have to?
I mean, you're like jumping all over the place and then like not remembering anyone's names or at all what happened. I'm not even sure why we're doing this.
We woke up the half ogre. He was a half ogre.
So Johnny found out a lot about his backstory. The Warforged are under the impression.
Oh yeah, this is true. Yeah,
that's right. That he. So Johnny's Warforged doesn't remember anything about his past. Just that like he was found in a cave, and that Doc put him back together, and that so on and so forth. They've been traveling together, and that's his dad. The Warforged. The last time you guys ran into them, called him traitor, and not a whole lot of information came out of that because you guys killed all of them without asking them any questions.
That happens.
And it was funny because like we ran in Warforged a few times, and at no point did Johnny even like once like Johnny's a Warforged who's never seen another Warforged, and it's like, oh my god, it's like I need to like find out about my past, and then never once asked any of them any questions. And it was like, wait, do you think they might know about me? Well, you could have asked them if you didn't just kill them all. But so this time, Doc decided to take it into
But they had big pointy sticks.
True. But so Dom took it into his own hands, and they found out that they're under the impression that he is responsible for the death of Tone Starkenstow, who is, as far as they're concerned, the father and creator of all Warforged. So he's kind of a Judas, kind of a pariah of the Warforged community. Yeah. So he doesn't know much of anything about that. He tried to convince this Warforged that you guys had tied up that he doesn't know anything about it, and whoever he was if he did that, that's not who he is now. And
Yeah, because Zone of Truth,
he crit that in a Zone of Truth, like and he knew he was in a Zone of Truth, so he like absolutely believes that it's like his memory has been wiped. He's not even like the same guy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And Mikey had this great idea that like you guys were like tying him up and like then like we're gonna let him escape, and Mikey has a psychic ability where he can like put his psychic imprint on something, and then he can see from its perspective.
So sort of like the door earlier at the post office, but the other way around.
In real time, not like seeing in the past. So he did that to this guy's like faceplate. And let him go. And so for the rest of the night, every once in a while, Mike, you'd be like, what do I see? He's in an air skiff flying. All right, where's he going? You don't know. He's flying south. Okay. How do I know that? I mean, the sun and things like that. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so he's flying south, guys. How about now? What's he doing now? He's flying. He's still flying south.
He's eating a bagel.
Where is he going? South. I don't know where he's going. But do I know? No, you don't know. You'll find out when he gets there. Keep checking in, though.
But we didn't resurrect.
No, he was stable. I was making rolls. He was
really?
Yeah, he was stable.
This is the half-orc leader of the... Nope, he's an ogre.
He's a half-ogre.
Half-ogre. Yep. The half-ogre leader of the Adventurers Guild. Adventurers Guild?
Explorers League. Adventurers Guild. No, the Explorers League.
The half-ogre president of the Pipefitters Union was... We revived him, woke him up, saw everything that was cool, and he sent us... It turns out that the map had been a little bit figured out, and that we needed to go to...
There was this archaeological dig that you guys may find more out about, like where specifically that the first location on the map is if you go there. But since you guys clearly have a lot of attention drawn on yourselves, what with the blowing up an airship a few days ago and causing a big fight in a Lord's Manor, and now people are like hunting you down.
The only people who want us hunted down are the Warforged, the other set of Warforged, the Shifters, the woman with the thing, the cops in Boston, the adventure. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're gonna get out of town.
So acknowledging that you guys have a lot of heat on you, he gave you a couple different options for getting you there. And one was you guys were gonna just take an airship and you'd sail right down.
But we were sailing to this.
You guys were going down to Buzzard's Bay. Either taking an airship to Buzzard's Bay, where you would then get a ship, or you would take a wagon train all the way to the tip of Cape Cod, Orleans, and then you would take a much shorter boat ride to 10 Bolts. Well, it's so there is no huge island. There's no Massachusetts-sized island off the coast of Massachusetts, but in our world, for some reason, there is. Just because reasons, I don't remember.
The world is much smaller.
Okay. Anyway, so we didn't when we first went there in the campaign, which was the last campaign. Joe didn't know what to name it, so he picked some. We must spend 5 minutes trying to decide what this town was called, and
because it was Rob from Wicked Good Gaming. His character Rawlock, when at the end of the campaign, ended up as the god of war somehow, and his followers had founded this town. So I'm like, okay, Rob from Wicked Good Gaming, what would you like to name this town? And I could just put in a series of bleeps right here, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Just none of his ideas were good enough to put on a map.
Exactly. Also, there were other, groups in that town. There were a bunch of, light, lawful good paladins that were all about, the protection of magical items. So it didn't make sense that this entire town would be named after, whatever insane thing he wanted it to be called. So you came up with 10 Boltson. Now,
I rolled on the random name generator on the DM screen.
Nice.
And got 10 Boltson.
10 Boltson.
But when we were there last time,
we had to break into this temple and steal a bunch of... we were supposed to steal one phylactery.
Reliquary.
Reliquary, sorry. So these reliquaries, they are keeping magic items around the world, like, protected. Like, they're immobile, they're unusable, like, no one can use them so long as their reliquaries are intact.
Right, so Rawlock's axe was protected by one of these things across town.
And we wanted the axe, so we had to break into this, like, temple full of lawful good paladins. Van, played by Johnny, he was like kind of against this plan because he's like they're my friends. Like, I'm one of these paladins. Like, let me just go in and like talk to them. And that turned into this very elaborate and ridiculous plan where Dom from Wicked Gaming, his character was a werebear and transformed into. It was a night that he would turn into a bear, and I conjured 4 small black bears. So a bunch of bears just like wandered up on this place, and it turned into
like knocked on the front door.
Knocked on the front door.
Please tell me about your lawful. Please tell me about Eomade. Says the bears.
No, it was that wasn't even what we did. Like, that was like Johnny was like just trying to talk to them, and these bears just walked up, and instead he was like, "Yo, let me in there." And they're like, "Oh, sorry, you can't go in here." What? Oh, what? A bear? What? Bears aren't allowed in here? And the other bears came walking over like, "What? Oh, what, you don't let bears in here?" So it just turned into this huge, ridiculous, like, elaborate ploy that didn't make any sense, because then my character, who was the druid, found the secret door at the top of the building where I was like, I was hiding at the top of the building, and then like, and behind me is a secret door that leads directly to this thing. Oh. Okay.
I remember that Phil's character, he was our ranger, is like setting grappling arrows up, and there's a zip line from one temple to the next, and there are the bears talking in the courtyard, and there's like, oh, there's a door here. We just walk in the door and open that up, and then down and you found what you needed to do. You broke extra ones. I don't know why.
I had the idea, and I said this to everyone, but like no one. So Johnny had Pillow Talk, which was like a magical hammer, and now Dom at that point had Rawlock's hammer, axe. Sorry. So we had a magic hammer, we had a magic axe. The rest of us didn't really have magic items, except like I had a crow, a little stone crow that turns into a crow. That's not helping us in the upcoming war.
Yeah, you didn't have big weapons that could
exactly.
Be very
so
useful.
Like these 2 characters had big weapons, and we were about, and in that part of our campaign, we were about to get involved in a very elaborate war. So I was like, hey, we should take some more of these with us so we can go, like, figure out what they are, and then go get them and use those super awesome weapons.
Or what have you.
So that instead of just the 2 of you having really awesome weapons and the rest of us, like, still having the stuff left over from level 3.
Oh, yeah, that is why you broke them.
So I took 5 of the... Also, we couldn't figure out exactly which one it was. There were 5.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, it left it so that there wouldn't have been a magic item for Mikey, and that's why I stole the 6th one and smashed that one. And everyone's like, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, because if we're doing this to get magic items, then we're gonna need one for everybody. Do the math.
But this
that was our time in 10 bolts in our previous campaign.
Some other things that happened there was that Van, Johnny's character, his paladin.
That's right. So we
became the chosen one.
Yeah. So what happened is that we were trying to convince, like, after like we had like smashed the reliquaries reliquaries, and came running outside, like. The paladins are like trying to fight Van and the bears, and it's like all about to go south, and Van's like, I don't want to fight them, they're my friends. And so someone cast light on his armor so it was glowing now, and he was trying to convince them that he was the Messiah,
and he could like talk to the bears and get them to calm down.
He's like, I'm the Messiah, and I've been chosen by the one true God to talk to the bears and make them stop attacking these guys. And one guy, like, he deceived them, the bears stopped attacking and everything, and everyone was deceived. except for the one guy who's like, no. This is probably like some elaborate thing with like a druid on the roof.
Just a druid on the roof and a ranger and grappling arrows. I've seen this before.
So I guess like a thunderstorm and like lightning struck him as he's like, that guy's not the Messiah, or lightning strike me dead. And lightning strikes him and kills him. And they're like, oh my god, he is the Messiah. So the reason we're telling you this story is that Ten Bolton is no longer Ten Bolton. It is now Don Van Stenople. And in the center of Don Van Stenople is the Vatican, because it is the center of Vanstianity. And in the hundreds of years since our last campaign, a religion has grown up around the Messiah of Van. And there's like legends of stories, and they're all going to turn out to be horribly skewed versions of what actually happened while you guys were in Ten Bolton.
Yeah, it's been hundreds of years. That happened.
Right, so like you guys are going to get there, and there's going to be like, oh, in his first miracle, when he tamed the wild bears and converted them to the true faith, which is not what happened. We know, but that's fine. That's what everyone else thinks.
Yeah, and that's what our characters are going to think.
Yep.
We don't know nothing.
That's true. You guys also got into a bar fight and like burned down half the town. Actually, we had you were the DM. I was playing, but we went there and everyone else got drunk and started the bar fight like immediately. We had gone to like this tavern and everyone was like goofing around
and you were asked kindly to leave.
Yeah, we were asked kindly to leave, and at which point we started the fight and burned down the tavern and
slaughtered every human, man, woman, or child in the building.
I didn't. I was like, okay, I'm gonna summon some dryads that are gonna charm everyone and like make everything cool. At which point, who started the fires?
Morgan, Phil's ranger, with fire arrows.
Oh, that's right.
Just right into the liquor behind the bar.
Right, that's right. Okay, so I was at one point I was finally like, you know what? I'm out. Just left.
I don't need this XP. You slaughter the innocents. I mean, to be fair, they were all full orc war chiefs and what have you.
Yeah.
In there, but they were nice guys. Orcs in our world aren't necessarily inherently evil.
That's true. So anyway.
So we took the airship, right?
So now that you know about Ten Bolton, which is now Don Van Stenople, you guys were...
Could I ask about the Don as opposed to Con?
Because I didn't think the Con made any sense, and Don is like a mafia Don, or like also Don like the morning.
Don Cheadle.
Yeah. Dom DeLuise.
Isn't it Dom DeLuise?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. So now that we know all about Ten Bolton.
Yep, so you guys chose to take a airship to Buzzards Bay to catch a ship there. But before you left, Azriana, the Lady of Lemon's right-hand mage, approached you guys about a deal off the books. She wanted you to return to that... Well, not return, because you guys have never been there. She wanted you to go to the temple that had once been home to all those reliquaries, and and there may still be one there, and she'd like you to acquire it for her, and bring it back, and she's going to give you guys some gold to each if you do that.
Yeah.
Well, since you're going to be in the town,
right?
And also like a little extra just to be quiet about it and not say anything.
And I like that Gregory's finally getting fleshed out. At one point, she knows what this reliquary is on about.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, it would be useful if we knew, too, because maybe you're evil, right? And she's like, I don't see how that could help you. And Gregory just flew off the handle.
Yeah, just went nuts.
Hey, maybe since we're going, we should find out. Maybe it should be us that knows instead of you, and just walked away. Like, never mind. I'm sorry. I do this sometimes. It's just breathing. And then she answered some other completely innocuous question, and I just walk in out of nowhere, hands in the air. See, this is what I want to know. This is what I wanted to find out. Fine. Okay, I'm sorry.
Mikey keeps trying to, like, take over, like, the NPC's minds, and he failed. Like, he failed that save, but the thing is that it's like, so she knows now that he tried to do that, and so she threatened him, like, don't ever do that again. And he was like, wow, she's a bitch, right? It's like, Mikey, you just invaded her mind without her consent. And she knows you did it, and you didn't even, like, pull it off.
You didn't even do it slyly.
And I'm not sure what you thought you were trying to find out, because it wasn't even about, like, can I find out what the thing is? It was just like, can I take over her brain?
Yeah, can I just talk to her in her mind? For whatever reason?
Yeah.
As though that were going to help. So that's where we are. We are on the boat to Ten Bolton, I assume?
No, you guys got to Buzzards Bay, and...
We got to Buzzards Bay.
You guys got to Buzzards Bay. You were supposed to book a passage on a ship, and Mikey was like, hey, I have less gold than everyone else. So it's like, well, of course you have less gold than everyone else. Because you spent it on magic items, and they're saving it up to get, like, plate armor and stuff like that. Which then you lent some money to Doc, so that he could buy that plate armor. And Mikey
the more things that hit and miss Doc, the better it is for Greg.
Right. So Mikey was like, well, I want more gold. Like, can I gamble? And I was, is there like a casino in town? I was like, there's no casino in this town. Well, is there any gambling? I was like, well, all right, you're down by the docks. There's like a guy with a shell game, and a couple of guys just throwing dice in the alley. At which point, Mikey tried to teach me how to like play dice, and I was like, Mikey, we're not gonna sit here and go over the rules for a game
we're here
of dice.
till 11. It's 10:45. Maybe we could play some other game.
Right. So here's what we're gonna do, Mikey. I'm gonna roll a d20, and you're gonna roll a d20, and whoever has the higher number, that's who won the dice game. And he's like, okay, that works. So he won the first two, and so it was perfect, because I was like, I'll tell you what, double or nothing. He's like, no, I don't do that this time. All right, how about just for 800, which was double or nothing. I just gave it a number. And he was like, oh, yeah, absolutely, I'll throw in 800. So he did that, and I won. And then he was like, all right, how about for another 800? You get your money back. He's like, yeah, I just got to make my money back. He's like, yeah, that's cool. You get your money back. And he lost again, so now he's negative money. And then Phil's rogue, Randall, turned invisible, because you turned him invisible.
I turned him invisible.
And then he snuck over and tried to steal the pouch of gold, which he rolled very poorly on. He got the pouch, but they absolutely noticed that a guy standing 5 feet away from them turned invisible, and then the pouch was cut from his belt and started floating away. And they were like, "He's stealing my gold!" And like, so a fight started to break out, and luckily, like, you guys were able to trick them and get away. And
Hold person's a hell of a spell.
Hold person's a hell of a spell. And you guys were able to trick the guy running the dice game that, it was someone else, like, hey, he's stealing the gold. You guys were able to get away clean.
Well, Mikey used his
that's right.
10 words that you have to believe ability to go, he went that way.
Yeah.
With your gold. That's yours.
Yeah. And there's actually a lot of gold in there. There's a lot more than just Mikey's. But it feels like, yeah, just your gold's in here. You're going to get the rest. So, and that's where we left it. You guys are, standing in the shipyard of a busy metropolis, probably wanted by this gang of hoodlums now. Waiting the book passage.
Randall knows thieves can't. He could probably talk his way out of this.
Probably.
Yeah. So that's...
I told him there were core there, too, so...
Yeah. So, some silent speech, too. They have that...
Yep.
Sign language. I don't know what that was, but...
You can't see it, but he just did some weird Tai Chi stuff. I'm not sure what that was.
Well, my only understanding of Tai Chi is from Homestar Runner.
As opposed to chai tea.
Can we get some chai tea?
Absolutely. Right after this break.
No, we'll do it during the break. That's
even
easier.
Better.
Yeah. High five.
This week, the Gemhammer podcast is brought to you by the Gemhammer Deck of Many Things. 22 tarot-sized full-color cards, ready to use right out of the box. Works with any fantasy role-playing system. Available now for pre-order at gemhammer.com.
We're back for our topic. This one was requested by somebody on Twitter.
Yep.
They asked for us to talk about the grand debate. Role-playing with an E versus role-playing with two L's.
Yep. ROEL.
I'm going to stop you there.
RLOL.
Yes. So role-playing with an E is, I'm a character, and I exist in this world, and what would my character do in this situation?
Right.
Role-playing with an L is, how do I make this dice game as fun as possible? How do I win this dice game?
It has nothing to do with fun as possible. It's how do I do the most damage per turn at like the lowest level, things like that,
Right, that's all, your traditional min-maxing
exactly
is double L role-playing. This would be way better as a blog post. Now I think about having to
how
say
it's-
role-playing so often. But we don't have a blog, so...
So I guess what we should call it, we do have, well, we kind of have a blog. Anyway, we should talk about what we should call it, like, it's min-maxing versus character concepts. And that's not to say that you can't have both.
Right.
Like, there are a lot of min-maxing, like, especially if you go on min-max boards or any of those, like Giant in the Playground, you know, they're built around concepts, a lot of them. But some of them, clearly, there's no concept here. It was just someone was trying to make something.
Right. If I'm a cleric... If I'm a life cleric who's a dwarf who takes magic initiate, even though he has magic already, and takes druid and takes the Goodberry cantrip, I can heal 10 points of every turn for free.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
40 when they hit, I think, level 5. So 40 as a healing cantrip.
And is my argument that is not a bad way to play.
No, there's nothing wrong with playing that way. I think that you can have end up with a lot of conflict at the table between players. There's a problem. There's two parts here. One problem is for the DM is that when you have both types of players at the table, and then there's also like an animosity that can start to form between one player that's like all they're doing is min-maxing, and the other player is like trying to play a character.
Well, also as a DM, you have this problem where you have to have a challenge for the min-maxed guy and for the sort of a couple 10s, a 13, and a 16 here and there guy.
Yeah.
Right? There's someone who is overpowered brings sort of your power curve up so high, and everybody else who rolled, 46 dropped the lowest. Trying to find a challenge that is going to be appropriate to both of those guys is difficult.
Exceptionally so.
Because we had this... In Pathfinder, we had this problem where we had a half-orc barbarian, and anything martial, he could just tank, all damage all the time. But he could only fight 2 or 3 guys at a time. So I can't... It's almost as though I had to put big red arrows to this is the guy the half-orc should fight, and everybody else should fight these guys over here, where it could be useful. Or the half-orc would go to those weaklings and...
Powerhouse them and everyone else...
Greater cleave... The extra attack you get when you kill somebody, and just keep going.
And the thing is that when we played the last campaign, that happened a lot with Dom's character. Yeah, he was the barbarian. He'd run up to the goblins and take them all out. Meanwhile, there's a very squishy druid and a bard.
A bard and a ranger.
And standing there, like, with sticks, like, whacking this giant ogre. And it's like, all right, I've killed everything of consequence. I guess I better come over here and start killing this thing now, too.
Yeah, better fight the boss now. How you guys doing with that?
Yeah.
But I think role-playing with 2Ls, min-maxing gets a bad rap from sort of the role players a lot. And I think that is just as wrong as min-maxers giving, role players a hard time for having a less than ideal character.
I don't think anyone should give anyone a hard time, but I just think that people say, "Oh, you shouldn't play that class as broken," or "Oh, there's such a weak build." It's like, who cares, man? Like, if you're if you want to play a campaign where everyone in the world's a goddamn superhero, cool, play that campaign. Everyone min-max, bring your best min-max to the table, and you are going to go on some epic journeys, man. Everyone starts off with an epic boon, things like that. Everyone starts off with a mythic tier in Pathfinder, things of that nature. But that's not the game we play. And the thing is that if you've got a bunch of guys that are min-maxed, and then a bunch of guys that aren't, it's very difficult to then balance the campaign so that it's fun or interesting for everyone.
And that's one of those things you want to talk about at Session 0.
True.
To go back to Episode 1, Session 0.
Yeah.
That if you want to play if you want to play this as a miniatures war game, right? Where let's find out how we can be as awesome as we can be, as early as we can be, and sort of work on the edge cases of the system and find exploits for that, which is what you do in miniatures war games, right? That's cool. Let's play that game.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't work if 3 guys are playing that game and one of them is that gnome barbarian from last time.
Exactly.
Because he's just going to be underpowered, right? He's just not going to be as effective in combat, and if the other 3 guys just want to get into combat, right? And that brings me to sort of another point where this is a group game, and min-maxing needs to be min-maxing. right? As a DM, you should be in a situation where the bard has a time to shine talking to the king, and the ranger has a time to shine while tracking the people through the forest, and then the barbarian and the sorcerer can do all the damage when you've got people in a room to kill, and the rogue is sneaking around and what have you. But if you're min-maxing, it needs to be a min-max, right? If charisma is my dump stat, then I can't go up and talk to the king and try to get him to convince me to give me his family's heirloom magic sword, because it's not going to work because I have a -3 charisma. But it needs to be, if you're going to min-max, have it that way. We talked about Nicky Lemonfest last time.
Yeah.
Intelligence was his dump stat. He was a -3, but it came out in his characterization. So sure, he was doing, I think at his greatest at level 8, he was doing like 120 points of damage around, and that's great. That was fun to do. But when you got him into a bar and we have to like have this secret conversation with the underworld liaison he's like, yeah, we'll totally go on your deadly adventure and kill all the people and we'll kill the king, and we'll kill the city guard, and we'll kill the leader of the city guard. And now he's got this problem because he's a dumbass.
Well, I mean, here's my thing, is that it's like, that's still you playing a role. That you have this min-max, there's the min there. The problem that I think we've run into a lot is not necessarily a min-max, but people that are max-max. People that it's, no, you don't understand. I can't have any stat be below 18. It's like, and that's the kind of situations that you kind of like end up in where it's like, well, that doesn't work. I mean, you can like have your dump stats, and then you can like put everything into charisma and intelligence and whatever, and then buy belts of giant strength to bring your strength up to whatever, and you can do that. You have the ability. Should you let the guy with the high charisma and intelligence and wisdom buy the belt of giant strength? Probably not.
Because then you end up with this problem with, why would this max character ever have a group of people that he played with?
Right.
Obviously, the player wants to sit at a table and have a few beers and enjoy his friends and whatnot. But if Richard the Almighty is playing here, he's not going to bring Flippy Whippet Bumblebunch, the gnome barbarian. He's not going to be invited to the party.
Exactly.
Because there's nothing he can do, there's nothing the gnome can do that Richard the Almighty wouldn't be able to do.
Right. Richard would just get some hirelings that are there to like take pot shots while he's doing whatever.
Here, you soak as much damage as you possibly can while I go and, destroy the big bad guys. And it needs to be a group game. I think this is going back right to session 0. Play the game. Be clear about the game you want to play. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if it were all about, hey, let's find out how much damage we can do at level 1, because there's going to be a Tarrasque going slowly across the map, and we're going to need to fight it eventually, cool. We'll have 3 barbarians and 3 sorcerers, and we'll be done.
And I think a great thing for that, it's like when we were doing session 0, and we used the new stat arrays, and everyone went, I have all these dump stats now. Well, no, man. Those are just regular stats, but also you should have dump stats. You shouldn't just immediately
you shouldn't be good at everything.
Right. If you're a cleric, maybe you're not like the most dexterous guy ever. You have high wisdom and good strength, but you're probably not also a master at throwing stars. Right. That's probably not you.
You're probably not that guy. You're probably not the guy who's going to. You're a dwarf. You're this dwarven cleric. You're this gruff guy who just comes around and. Your charisma should be minus, which is why I really don't like. Listen to the last podcast in a row. It's like, there's not a topic that we can't use to sort of shoehorn, I don't like 5e, I wish it were different. Because I don't like 5e and I wish it were different. You don't get racial negatives, you just get racial bonuses, right? So the idea of a dwarf being gruff and hard to deal with and not charismatic isn't reflected in the mechanics, and I just kind of wish it was. I wish it were different. I like 5e. I just wish it were different.
You wish that there was more negatives to some pluses,
It seems like Wizards wants everybody to max, but then cause they have the ability to do that, right? Now, you can't max as much as you could in 3.5 or Pathfinder,
Yeah.
You can't get a strength score of 26. That's not an option. But you could very easily, conceivably, get at least +3 in everything, and +5 in two of your 6 stats.
Right.
I do like that there are more kinds of saving throws, because now that sort of punishes dump stats, and people have a new way to... The problem is there aren't many of them. How many spells give you a charisma saving throw?
It's true.
Right? It's on the sheet. There are spells that do that. I just wish there were more of them. It seems to me that, like, Charm Person gives you a wisdom saving throw. Shouldn't that be
Wiz and
charisma?
Constitution and Dex are
the ones.
Are the saving throws.
I can't think of a single spell that gives you a strength saving throw. Right? Now, if a building's falling down on you and you want to hold it up from sheer force of will,
right,
that is a strength saving throw situation. But the 3 stats that back in 3.5 weren't saving throws, int, charisma, and strength. I don't even know what an int saving throw would be. Right? Sure, there might be a spell that says you get an int saving throw. It's like, oh, if you don't remember where old man McGillicuddy hid his map in that old story you heard when you were 8, this guy's going to shoot you in the face with a crossbow. I guess that's an int saving throw?
Not really.
No, but that's
just a consequence to, like, you not remembering. That's
right.
You making an intelligence check
with consequences if you fail.
With consequences that will be against your AC. You know, it'll
right.
That won't even be in.
But there is definitely a place for people who want to be optimized.
See, I really like to have a character concept, and like the last 4 characters I played, 2 of them were clerics, 1 of them was a druid. And then the bard.
Yeah.
You know, it's none of them were doing tons of damage guys. They were all built around a concept, Cad McFab, Plaidbag, all of his spells were fire or smoke, and they were supposed to be coming out of the pipes in the bagpipe. Torben, he was just, everything was bears. He just turned into bears all the time.
Summon bears, fade bears, flying bears.
Bears! Everything was bears. Then there was the Trickster Cleric, and then the Nature Cleric that was Aquaman. Mm-hmm. And they were all built around these concepts.
And even Toad Starkenstone, who you played.
Toad Starkenstone,
was sort of a high concept character.
Yeah, he was a concept character.
I would call him high concept. He was a concept character.
He was a concept character, not a high concept. It was it's Tony Stark.
Yeah, it's not Van Gogh.
Right.
Stan Lee.
Exactly. But the problem is that it's when you then have to play those characters, and the other people in the party are, I was on min-max boards, and I saw that, if you mix these 5 things together, I'm just basically unstoppable now, and I don't need you. Oh. Well, I'm glad I'm here then.
I'm glad McPladbag that I'm here now.
Yeah.
That joke didn't work.
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't.
But you tried, that's what matters.
And that's what matters.
And I think that it's just important that when you have people that are building around a concept, and you have people that are built around, I want to do the maximum damage all the time, that there's an equal amount of things that tie into what that guy, if you've got a bard, maybe one time you guys, all right, you're not hired to go infiltrate a castle and break down a door and pick up a giant rock and crush an ogre with it and then carry the 10 princesses in one hand back to, maybe that isn't every adventure, and that's on the DM. Maybe you need to, if you have a bard, maybe, all right, guys, you need to sneak into this place, but to be able to, the only way to get in is to get an invitation, and the only way to get an invitation is to win this performance competition. Right. So now it's
Faerun's got talent.
Right. So you've got your bard, who's the center, the center stage of this series of performance checks and contests and challenges. And everyone else, it's well, what are they doing? Well, now they're going to feel left out. But there are ways that you can involve them. For example, if you have the guy who's really strong, maybe he's a strong man in a circus kind of a thing, or the really dexterous guy, he's juggling knives, things like that.
Yeah, give your characters an I think you should do that. I think it'd be great to see what everyone else did.
It's coming. Don't worry. I've already thought about this, and that's why I'm bringing it up. But I think that giving everyone the opportunity to be involved in that sort of a thing, and still giving that the bard, for example, the spotlight, and you can even have the guy that's oh, I don't want to perform. Okay, well, you can go around and you can try and bribe the judges and things like that. You know, you can give people little things that they can be doing as a part of this mission. Every single session does not need to be storm the castle, knock down the wall.
I think that...
Because I think that's where you're going to lose a lot of the concept characters.
Right.
Because there is no, like, very rarely does the min-max guy actually have a concept behind it. They've pigeonholed the concept to attach to damage.
Which is why I don't like the term min-max, because I consider myself an optimizer. When I level up and I get to switch up my spells and pick new abilities and what have you, I want to optimize myself for the situation. Right? As a bard that I'm playing now, sure, I'm not super strong and my optimization doesn't come down to which feat will help me shoot my crossbow a little bit better, but it's about finding the spells that are going to work, the performance checks so that I can... we were talking in Tales from the Table about how I turned the rogue invisible and he stole the thing, and now these guys come out of the alleyway looking like, where'd he go? What's going on? But who's there on the street corner playing a flute with a hat on the ground, getting coins, totally blending into the situation. I think I got like 12 coins for that, which was nice.
Yep, you did.
Something like that. So I don't think that having a non... It's why I like the term optimize better than min-max.
But there's a difference. There are people that optimize, and there are people that are min-maxing. There are people that are like, they don't have a character. They're not trying to make the best of what they have.
My character is my battle axe.
Yeah.
Kind of guys.
Like, I'm building a cannon, and I'm going to put a name and a personality I picked out of a book on that cannon. But it doesn't matter, because I can change the name and everything.
Because he's just casting Fireball as many times as he can.
Right. It's the paladin mixed with a warlock, you know, that's smiting and hexing at the same time, and you know, it's the bear druid barbarian that's raging. No, it's the barbarian druid monk wild shape bear martial arts raging. You know, those kinds of situations where it's just like, okay, I want you to explain to me where this really ragey, but also very wise and serene, arcane, but then also martial, but then also divine individual. Like, explain to me how this happened. You know, like, and
that's also...
It's all in the rules, you can do it.
Yeah.
But, like, no, like, I would think that you'd find a great difficulty to find a person that actually, like, this happened to. You know, and it's very clear that no one woke up and said, you know what's really cool is I just really want to be playing a Kung Fu Panda. You know, it's nobody, and obviously that's the thing to go with.
Yeah.
But that's not what anyone's doing. That's just what they're attaching to this build to make it sound legit.
And I don't know if we talked about this in Session 0, but I am a huge fan of always starting every adventure at level 1.
Yeah.
Now, we do these sort of side quests, which are goofy, and...
We start at level 5, and...
Yeah, and you can get goofier characters. Aquaman is not going to work at level 1.
No.
He's not going to feel or act like Aquaman. And
by starting the Aquaman character at level 5, I was able to get enough stuff that it felt like Aquaman.
Right. And you're going to have this problem when building this druid bear ranger... the druid, barbarian, monk, bear... wild shape guy. You're going to have the problem at level 1 where he's going to feel like an underpowered barbarian, and at level 2 when he's going to feel like an underpowered barbarian that can sometimes cast Entangle, and at level 3 you need the completion of it. And then you have to ask yourself, because at the end of the day, even though I optimize my character sheet, when I sit down at the table, I am playing a character. I am role-playing there. And every time I get a new level, I have to ask myself, what has Greg done that would make multi-classing make sense? Right? So, for instance, we were talking about how Greg has this character flaw where he sort of flies off the handle at small insults, right? It would make perfect sense 3 levels from now if he took a level in Barbarian. Rage is their thing. He has learned, instead of to suppress that part of him to be charismatic, instead to use that power, you know, behind his mighty rapier. But then you also have the problem where he's going to be a barbarian.
Yeah.
His strength is like 0, I'm pretty sure. He's got a dex of 3, but...
Well, you can build a dex barbarian.
You can, but that doesn't feel like a barbarian to me, right?
No.
I don't want to... If I'm going to be a barbarian, I'm going to play a barbarian, not someone who says I'm raging to get bonuses to attack rolls.
Right.
Right? And that's essentially where I'm coming from. That if you're going to... sort of my takeaways are, if you're going to optimize, that's cool, but you still need to play a character. Start at level 1, prevent these things from happening. And if you're going to min-max, it has to be min. There needs to be things you're bad at. Now, if you want to be Superman in a one-on-one campaign, a one-on-one adventure, let's say, Monday nobody can make it but you and me, I'm like, I'd like to see what I can do with... I've never played a 20th level Pathfinder character. You have with Tone Sarkenstone.
Yep.
Hey, here are my monster manuals. Here are my bestiaries. I'm going to build the badassest 20th level character I can think of. That sounds fun. Mm-hmm. But if it's a group game and people don't have the opportunity to shine as well, then you're inherently playing the game wrong, I would say. Min-maxing doesn't play the game wrong.
No.
Optimizing doesn't play the game wrong, and neither does character concepts and role-playing and suboptimal builds. All of that is a continuum that if that's what you're playing, that's what you're playing. The game can be all those things to all those people, but you are playing the game wrong if you're not playing it. If there are other people at the table and you're not playing it as a group game. If you're not
and I
getting
definitely
those
think
people
that
to shine.
if you're the kind of person that optimizes or min-maxes, however you want to say it, and you're frustrated with the guy that comes in and he's like, well, my character's just like this gnome and he just really likes colors, and so he takes all these prestidigitation so he can change the colors of things, and that's just like his thing. It's like, well, your character sucks. Your character sucks. He's bad at everything. My character's awesome. He's good at action. It sucks having him in the party because it's you can't be that way. You can't be that way because you chose to build this tank, to build this damage machine, and you sat down at the table that's not what this guy's here for. This guy just wants to play that character.
And on the reverse side of the coin, when you're playing Marshmallow Flippy Bippet, who's going around changing everything to blue, because that's his favorite color, you can't then leave the group and go, man, it was terrible when the half orc did 200 points of damage to that beholder, because man, he didn't change the color or nothing.
Exactly.
Right? The game allows all these different players and all these different play styles. And the way you meld them together is Session 0. Is saying this is the kind of campaign we would like to play in. And if that's not working for you, we have a bunch of different campaigns going on at once. Mm-hmm. And they are all different. I think that our Game of Thrones game is a lot more about optimization than playing a character. Right? Now, everybody's got a character.
See, I disagree entirely.
Okay.
Because, none of us really knew how the game worked when we started playing. Mike, as the, wow, I can't believe I'm blanking. I'm a...
Maester?
Maester. As a Maester, I don't think I'm optimized to be a Maester. I'm definitely good at skullduggery type things. I'm definitely good at conning people into doing things, convincing people. But in terms of that's where everything's built into. Mm-hmm. I'm not actually very good at well, what do you know about metallurgy?
Metallurgy. That's the process by which metals are urged
to do things.
Yeah.
Now, luckily,
Is that where it comes from? We're moving on. Don't roll your eyes at me. I'm an equal partner in this, damn it. When we did Session 0 for the podcast and talked about the kind of podcast we wanted to be,
we didn't do that.
We didn't do that.
We should have. Anyway, you guys did a Session 0 for Game of Thrones, but I wasn't there.
Yeah, couldn't make it.
So, I don't think that, because I definitely feel like there was a couple of characters that are optimized, but I don't think, as a whole, it feels optimized, especially since one of those characters is dead now. And the rest of us are just scrambling to do stuff, and we didn't know how we were going to fit into the world or how it was going to work, so we've all kind of settled into different places than when I think we thought we were going to be when we started. I definitely feel that way. I think Mikey is like that because I don't know this for sure, but who Mikey was when he started, he was like, I want to be a knight and I want to do this and I want to get knighted and blah blah blah. And now he's like killing his best friend. You know, it's like I feel like Game of Thrones, because we play so sporadically, and because we were like we weren't sure how the game worked until we started playing it. It's kind of like got off the rails a little bit, and like.
But when I talk about optimized, what I mean is that everyone has their niche that they're really good at.
Oh, okay.
Right? That, Rob from Wicked Good Gaming, he was the hit things with their sword person. Dom was playing a sellsword from the Free Cities, and he is sort of that dexterous. I feel like when he fights, he's like Oberyn Martell. Yeah. He's I'm going to deflect his arrow and really make a show of it. Then you've got you as a maester who's behind the scenes, writing the letters, forging the stuff. You've got Phil, who's playing the Ironborn ward, who's sneaking around. Nobody ever sees him. And then you've got Johnny, who is also doing huge amounts of damage as a knight, but really with the armor to tank that kind of damage. I think everyone has a role, and it works well. Okay. Because no one knew... everyone knew Game of Thrones, and except Phil, who does now, and what sort of character they wanted to be, but everyone had an idea of, this is the thing I want my character to do. How can I make that work? And I think Game of Thrones has a system that works really well, that you just get to buy everything, right? Sure. It's not like you have derived stats. You have a few derived stats, but all they do is derive. As opposed to in...
5e.
Dungeons and Dragons. But in D&D, you have, okay, my constitution is my hit points, but it's also saves against poison, and my strength is to hit someone, but it's also to climb buildings. Right? In Game of Thrones, hitting someone with your sword and climbing a wall are not connected stats. Right? So you have this opportunity to actually min-max in a way, because it doesn't make sense for the maester to be good with a sword. It doesn't make sense for the guy who can climb up the walls to necessarily be great at hitting things with a mace.
And actually, guys that are incredibly strong and are swinging around a giant hammer actually can be very bad at climbing, because the way muscle growth works is it's like you hit a certain point where like your muscles and your weight exceeds your ability to lift things. Mm-hmm. So like that guy, that like huge tank, that gargantuan titan of a man is not going to be sprinting up a wall because they're really strong and thus can climb very fast. Right. They're not going to be able to pull their own body weight up that wall. So, I mean, that does make a lot of sense. It feels a little more real in that regard. There is one thing I've noticed, and I noticed it while watching Game of Thrones. Okay. Is that there's a weird kind of disconnect in the different parts of the adventures we play. Like when we did the big intrigue one, where we killed the Lord. I definitely felt like everything that was happening was on me, as the only person with any stats in any kind of intrigue. And everyone might have felt like they had this role to play, but really it was just me talking them through what we were doing and then lying to everyone and convincing them, no, this is what happened.
Well, I don't necessarily think that's
and
fair.
then when we... Well, hold on. Okay. And then when we get into fights, with the exception of the fairs or the tournaments, anytime we've gotten into a fight, I've almost died. And it's not even like I'm getting into the fight. It's just that I'm an easy target, and if I take one hit, I'm down. Right. So, and while watching Game of Thrones, I realized it's like, you know what you don't see? You don't see Jaime Lannister getting a horse with a bunch of guys in armor, and Maester Pycelle, like, hop on a horse and go with him. It doesn't happen. Right. It occurs to me that, like, in the game, like, maybe I should be playing a different character, because if it's going to be largely a group of guys that are going out on these adventures, the Maester's not going to go with them to go fight bandits in the woods. Right. The Maester's going to stay back at the castle, and I think that it's cool that you have all these options, but it occurs to me that in Game of Thrones, the TV show, while the intrigue characters and the fighting, strong, like, adventure characters do interact with each other, it's almost like they interact with each other during timeouts. Not actually while they're doing those things that really matter to them. And
They
when,
come back at the end of their day and go, "Oh, honey, how was your day?
right.
Who did you intrigue? Who did you stab?"
But when in the Game of Thrones role-playing game, you have the situation where there's like a maester with you and this like sneak thief floating around, and then like everyone else is like a lord in a full suit of armor fighting brigands on the road, and it's like, wait, why are we here? This seems like the opposite. Like, shouldn't I be back at the castle managing all the letters? Like, what madness is this?
Who's teaching the lordlings what the great houses of the Riverlands are?
Exactly.
Which is why you had two maesters. One who was your character, who was a younger kind of guy, and then the older maester, who was going to stay at the home to keep track of those maester duties, while you worked with the new, the heir apparent to learn how to be a maester and learn how to be a lord together and build that relationship. Then you killed both of the heir apparent and the other maester. So, I mean, what are you going to do? But going back to the sort of everything was on you thing you were saying, and of course you mean in the intrigue, but during the sort of scheme.
The scheme, they were getting things done.
Yeah.
Like, what I meant is more like, I end up in this situation where everyone's turning to me and going, "Is this what happened?"
Oh,
and,
because you looked at the body and stuff,
right?
Like,
exactly.
NPCs are asking,
right? Like, at the end of the day, what we didn't matter nearly as much as like what I rolled to convince them. Yeah, absolutely, that happened. They're totally telling you the truth, and this is all totes legit. Moving on, everybody.
You would get penalty dice if the plan didn't work out quite as well.
That's true. I mean, and honestly, it was a very good plan, which Mikey gets a lot of credit for. Like, a lot of that was him going, "This is what we need to do." What I really meant by that is more that, like, because like you have these intrigues like in the show, and it is built to function like how the show or the books are.
Yeah.
A maester would be in this kind of situation with a lord behind closed doors, not necessarily with
all his friends.
With all his friends, and certainly not with like the knights of the round hanging out in the next room, or like standing there right next to him going, "Yeah, we were totally part of that. I mean, nothing." It's...
Yeah, part of me thinks we should just never play Game of Thrones again and just play it by correspondence. Just send me a text when your character wants to do something. I'll send out a group text when it's, explaining what's going on in the world.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
I like playing it.
I can't wait to play again. That and Star Wars and Super Fight Giant Robots and
I don't think anyone wants to play Super Fight Giant Robots, but me.
Dread and
I don't really like Dread.
Neither.
Why would you want to play it?
I'm just listing out other games we've played.
Okay.
Or did you have takeaways on the min-max, what have you?
On
the role-playing versus role-playing?
No, I mean, we kind of went off on a tangent there.
Oh, you know what happens on Friday?
The end of that contest that no one has submitted anything for.
So, well,
there's that.
What's your favorite word?
Onomatopoeia.